Okay. Well, welcome to the first session of the House of Representatives of the 15th Congress. And Mr. Clerk, if you would, let's start with the roll.
All right, Representative Haysbert. Representative Haysbert.
Like an old man.
Hold on, is that a squeaky toy? I'm sorry. Okay, let's try the. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on. All right. So, can somebody? Can somebody mute their mic, please?
So much for decorum.
Alright, okay. Representative Haysbert is absent. Representative Combatant. Representative Combatant?
Present.
Alright. Charles Prentice is not... That's Dr. Gatsby now. Dr. Gatsby.
Present.
Can you add the link to Dr. Gatsby's name? Thank you. Representative Rockefeller. He's deafened in the chat, but he is present.
Good.
Representative Infidel Weeb is considered excused. Representative Rockwell.
Present.
Representative Richmond. Representative Richmond. He's in the chat, but he's not speaking.
He stated present under session discussion in the chat.
Oh. Oh, okay. Okay. So if you're typing, then just say it in session discussion. Yeah, I didn't know that. Representative Ravetti.
Present.
Representative Vermillion. Representative Vermillion is absent. Representative Joseph. Representative Joseph Jr. is absent. Representative Lockheed will be joining us via proxy. Representative Raykid. Representative Raykid is absent. Representative McTavish.
Present.
Alright. Representative Filkov.
Present.
And Representative Anubis. Damn it. Representative Davis is absent. And 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. With 8 members present, there is a quorum present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay, moving on. We will now present and vote on the agenda. So, Mr. Clerk, would you please state the items on the agenda?
Alright. Item number 2, for some reason, is H.R. 1501, the Expungement Clarification Act, proposed by Representative Joseph Jr. Item number 3, H.R. 1502, the Supreme Court Amendment to the Court Jurisdiction Act of 2017, proposed by Representative Combatant. Item number 4, H.R. 1503, Revamped Impersonation Act of 2017, proposed by Representative Dr. Gatsby. Number 5, H.R.S. 1501, Amendment to Rule 1, Subsection 9 of the Standing Rules of the House of Representatives, presented by Representative Ravetti. Number 6, H.R. 1504, Former President Protection Act, proposed by Representative Richmond. And lastly, Item 7, H.R. 1505, Closure of Immigration Before an Election Act, proposed by Representative Richmond.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. There is a motion on the floor to amend the agenda by Representative Combatant. Does anyone second the motion?
I second.
Okay. Representative Gatsby seconds the motion.
Alright.
We will now proceed to hear specifically what the representative would like to amend. Okay, the representative would like to add a bill, okay, which we are going to label as H.R. 1506. The short title for this bill is the Citizenship Revocation Act of 2017, or CRA. The chair will now post a link to the act and on the agenda spreadsheet. If all representatives do not have the agenda spreadsheet open, the chair now asks that they open it.
Oh, and can the representative that proposed this change this to HR 1506? Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. This was
combatants bill. Yeah.
right. This was presented by Representative Combatant.
All right.
Thank you very much. Okay. If there are no further motions on the floor, the clerk will now proceed to call the roll, and we will vote to either approve or deny this session's agenda.
Representative Combatant. Your vote on the agenda. Representative Combatant votes aye. Oh yeah, let me change this to Dr. Gatsby. Representative Gatsby.
Aye.
Representative Rockefeller is still deafened, so I guess he will abstain. Whoa. Hold on. It needs to be fucked up on that. Hold on.
Squeak.
Representative Rockwell.
Aye.
Representative Richmond. Can you deafen him, please?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I had to mute him. I couldn't handle it. Representative Betty. Your vote on the agenda.
Aye.
Alright, Representative McTavish.
Aye.
Representative Filkov. Rockefeller abstained. Representative Filkov. Oh yeah, he was muted. Representative Filkov.
Please sit back. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm just gonna Representative Tome, you could just vote in the session discussion, I'm sorry. Alright. With 6 in favor, 1 abstaining, the agenda passes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now open the floor to any opening remarks. Would any representative like to deliver an opening remark before we move
I
on?
would.
Okay, Representative Rivetti has the floor.
Thank you, Speaker Rockwell. I would just like to say to all my fellow colleagues in the House, I am excited to be serving this term with you over the month of July, and hope that we can have a very successful time here in the House over the next month. Thank you, I yield.
Thank you, Representative Rivetti. Next up is Representative Richmond. You now have the floor, sir. I guess I will be reading Representative Richmond's opening remarks. Yeah. He says, "Hello, welcome to another fabulous term. We will do great things." And to all you new reps, learn how to properly be a rep. Thank you. Representative Richmond yields the remainder of his time. Okay. If there are no further opening statements, we will move on to the first item on the agenda, which will be HR 1501, the Expungement Clarification Act. Okay, as there are no further requests for the floor, I will now ask the clerk of the House to start calling the roll for item number 1.
Alright. On item number 1, HR 1501, the Expungement Clarification Act, proposed by Representative Joseph Jr. Representative Combatant. Representative Combatant votes in favor. Just to let you know, Representative Lockheed has joined, if you guys want a motion to mark him as absent, or, present for the thing. Representative Gatsby.
Yay.
Representative Rockefeller. Representative Rockwell.
Aye.
Representative Richmond. Representative Richmond votes in favor. Representative Ravetti.
Aye.
Representative McTavish.
Aye.
And Representative Filkov. And he votes in favor. With 9 in favor, none opposed, and none abstaining, this item passes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair would just like to make it known to all representatives in the session that you are more than welcome to spark debate or ask for clarification on any legislation that has been put forth in the agenda. In fact, the chair wishes that any and all representatives do spark debate or ask questions on all legislation as it opens a clear line of dialogue that will help better gain an understanding of what bills we are trying to pass and how they may help better the country. Okay. So, if no representatives wish to propose motions at this time, we will move on to the second item on the agenda, which will be H.R. 1502, Supreme Court Amendment to the Court Jurisdiction Act of 2017. I will now pause for a few moments to allow any and all representatives to put forth motions for discussion or debate on the following.
I second combatant's motion to proceed.
Okay. Now that there is a second to the motion to proceed, we will move on to a vote on H.R. 1502. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Representative Combatant. Representative Combatant votes in favor. Representative Gadsby.
Yay.
Representative Rockefeller votes in favor. Representative Rockwell.
Aye.
Representative Richmond. Votes in favor. Representative Ravetti.
Aye.
Representative McTavish.
Aye.
Representative Filkov. Representative Filkov votes nay. Hold on, let me break up these. Right here. Alright, with 8 in favor and 1 opposed, this passes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay. Does any representative wish to put forth any motions on the floor before we proceed? Representative Vetti is typing, and never mind. Okay. So, we will now proceed to the third item on the agenda, which is H.R. 1503, the Revamped Impersonation Act of 2017, sponsored, or well, I should say drafted, by Representative Gadsby.
I request the floor.
Sorry, who was that?
Gatsby.
Okay, Representative Gadsby has the floor. 27.
All this bill does is takes out of the U.S. Code impersonation, which is, I assumed, an umbrella term, and distinguishes between impersonation of a citizen versus impersonation of, say, a law enforcement official. Obviously, the impersonation of a law enforcement official or a government official carries a slightly harsher sentence. It's an additional 5 days, which is 15 days total, as opposed to 10 days for impersonating a citizen. I yield the floor.
Okay, Representative Gadsby yields the floor. Again, I urge any and all representatives to put forth any and all items on the agenda for debate or clarification, as it will only help us.
I second Gatsby's motion to proceed.
Okay, good. All right. With a second to the motion to proceed, will the clerk now call the roll?
Alright. If I can find the agenda again. On item 4 HR 1503, Representative Combatant. Representative Combatant votes in favor. Representative Gatsby.
Yay.
Representative Rockefeller votes in favor. Representative Rockwell.
Abstain.
Representative Richmond votes in favor. Representative Ravetti.
Aye.
Representative McTavish.
Aye.
And Representative Filkov. Mike, you weren't here. Representative Filkov has abstained. And just to remind you, you did proxy? Well, apparently Mike proxied.
Yeah, he sent me the votes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, can you put him in as a...
Yes, but you know what? Since he is here, you know what? Representative Rockwell makes a motion to mark Majority Leader Mike as present.
I second.
You can just do an all in favor thing.
Alright, with a second, we will now mark Representative Mike as present for this session. Would the clerk please change?
Oh yeah, he sent me his,
Yeah.
his proxy. Let me go change it real quick. He voted aye on the... Oh, Mike, when you sent me your proxy, did you include the vote on the agenda, or did you just include the items that weren't the vote on the agenda? Only items, okay. So so I can put down you voted aye on the agenda? Are you fine with that? Or should I just abstain? Okay, I'll just put aye. Okay, give me a second. 1, 2, 3, voted aye on those. Okay. He's been marked present and his votes have been added.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay, moving right along. Next up on our agenda is, just give me 1 second. House Resolution 1501, Amendment to Rule 1, Subsection 9 of the Standing Rules of the House of Representatives. Now, before we proceed to a vote, can't talk, I would like to provide all representatives with 2 minutes to read over the piece of legislation being proposed and all supporting documents so that we are all clear on what the legislation is and what is being changed, because this is an important resolution here.
I make a motion to request the floor.
Representative Ravetti has the floor.
Thank you, Speaker Rockwell. I wrote this bill in order to clarify seniority within the House. It's very important to know who is the most senior in our House, and etc., because if in case the Speaker or Speaker pro tempore is not available at a session, or if they leave or yield the chair, then the most senior representatives will take over the chair. We cannot have someone who just joined the House as a junior become, well, in the chair, which is why we need to understand who is the most senior representatives in our chamber and who is not, which is why I made this bill. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you, I yield.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Ravetti. Does any representative have any questions on the bill? Okay. Representative Combatant has the floor.
Oh boy.
I will be speaking for the representative since he is typing. Representative Combatant states, the current system is fine for determining seniority. We don't need to go and delve as far as into the hours and minutes. Current system works best by determining the amount of sessions you have attended. Hence, hopefully showing some knowledge by attending. Representative Combatant yields the rest
I
of
request
his
the floor.
Representative Ravetti now has the floor.
Combatant, to answer your questions, we don't need to delve as far as down into the hours and minutes, you say. And the current system works best by determining the amount of sessions you have attended. Well, let's say we have two guys, right? They've both attended 12 sessions over their tenure. And now they can go back and forth fighting for the chair if they really wanted to. We don't want that to happen. That can go on forever. We can have two guys that have both been to the same amount of sessions just fighting for the chair over and over. This way, my system would determine by the time you posted your oath, the oldest oath on the wall, consecutively will become obviously the most senior. You know, let's say someone in February was sworn in and voted not voted, took the oath of office, and nobody was before them, then obviously they'd be the most senior. And hence hopefully showing some knowledge by attending. Yes, it does not include the amount of sessions attended, but if someone was to be not in attendance of sessions or not active at all, I'm pretty sure that we would all try to expel them from the house, because we don't want somebody just going to waste their time in the house taking up a seat where someone active can be serving, as we all know. Thank you, I yield.
Okay, thank you, Representative Ravetti. Representative Combatant has the floor once again. Representative Combatant says, I've never seen anyone fight over the chair like you've said. And honestly, has anyone served consecutively since February? Most of the guys here are either starting a new term, starting anew this term, or were around last term.
I request the floor.
Okay. Representative Combatant yields the floor.
I request.
I heard you.
Just making
Representative McTavish has been granted the floor.
So I like both. I like both the original and the new system stated by the bill. But I think that is there a way that we could keep the old system and use the system that you've devised as a fail-safe, so that in case something like that happens, we can go into the logs, see when they posted their oath, and then determine who has seniority?
Representative McTavish, I believe what you are trying to do is attach an amendment to the bill, if I am correct.
Oh, yeah, I am, yes.
You are. Okay, well then you're going to have to make a motion to attach an amendment, and then you're going to have to clarify that motion if it is passed, and then we can put it to a vote.
Alright, well, I motion to amend the bill.
Okay, does anyone second the motion to amend the following bill? Representative Rockefeller has seconded the motion. Representative McTavish, would you please clarify as to what your amendment is, and then we can put that to a vote.
Okay, so to clarify, I want to change the new amendment to Rule 1, subsection 9 as amended will state that the chair shall only be held by the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, or the Speaker pro tempore of the United States House of Representatives, unless both are absent, the duties of the chair for the remainder of the session are granted to the most senior member present. Seniority shall be based, and this is where we take from the old part, shall be based on the total number of sessions attended and that member's tenure of public service. However, in the case that two most senior members have served the same amount of sessions, then seniority shall be based on the time they posted their oath.
Okay. Does any representative wish to ask questions or clarification on the proposed amendment? Representative Richmond has put a motion to proceed to a vote. Does anyone second this motion?
I second.
All right, Representative McTavish has made a second to the motion. We will now proceed to a vote on the following amendment as presented by Representative McTavish. Will the clerk of the House please call the roll?
Yeah, and just to let you know, Vermillion's here if you guys want to, like, add him in or whatever. It's up to you guys. Just want to, like, let you know. Representative Gatsby, your vote on the motion. Or on the amendment.
Aye.
McTavish.
Aye.
Mike. Mike votes aye. Combatant. Votes in favor. Representative Ravetti.
Aye.
Representative Richmond. Votes aye. Representative Rockefeller. Votes aye. Representative Filkov. Abstains. Representative Rockwell.
Aye.
And in the opinion of the clerk, the ayes have it.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Jeez. Okay, now that we've complicated this new bill, would any representative wish to further debate the following piece of legislation or put forth a motion to proceed?
I request the floor.
Representative Ravetti has the floor.
Just one question, McTavish. Did you state that it would be consecutively or over any time? The amount of sessions attended.
Oh.
Because I'm trying to write it down right now.
Good point. Okay. Let me figure this. Okay. I think consecutively.
Consecutively, alright. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to request the floor or?
I make a motion to proceed.
Representative Ravetti has put forth a motion to proceed. Does anyone second? Representative Combatant has put a second to the motion. We will now proceed to a vote. Would the clerk of the House please call the roll?
Representative Combatant has voted yeah. Representative Gatsby.
Yeah.
Representative Rockefeller. Votes in favor. Representative Rockwell.
Aye.
Representative Richmond. Votes in favor. Representative Ravetti.
Aye.
Representative Joseph Jr. Votes in favor. Representative McTavish.
Aye.
And Representative Filkov. Votes nay. With 9 in favor and 1 opposed, this passes.
Very well. The standing rules of the House will be amended at the end of this session as per the recently passed amendment to Rule 1, Subsection 9 of the Standing Rules of the House of Representatives. The Chair would just like to make a very small note to all representatives drafting and proposing legislation. Please, 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 when you put a short title for your legislation, the Chair requests that you put a short title and not something that is a mouthful. Thank you. Moving right along. Moving right along to H.R. 1504, the Former President Protection Act. Representative Combatant requests the floor and is granted the floor. I will be speaking for the representative. Representative Combatant says, well, the Secretary of Homeland Security has stated he does not support this bill. Honestly, it puts too much strain on the Secret Service. Former presidents can buy a gun and shoot the bad men themselves. Fucking pussies. I yield. Good. Okay. Representative Tome has requested the floor.
Representative Tome, I'm gonna unmute you, and if I hear squeaking, I'm gonna lose it. But you can... Before
the clerk unmutes Representative Tome, the chair would like to make a quick suggestion, a strongly worded suggestion. Can we please keep this civil and parliamentary and not use profanity in the sessions and in the House? I do not direct this towards anyone specific, but please, we are representatives of the American people. I do not believe that it is neither gentlemanly nor is it professional for us to be spouting such foul language during our sessions. Thank you. Representative Tome has the floor.
Thank you for that, Mother Teresa.
You're welcome.
Alright, Representative Tome, you're unmuted.
You can hear my voice, correct?
Yes, and only
yes, and we cannot hear the squeaky toy, so that's a good thing.
Sorry, I just came back from a tournament.
That's alright.
So, going back to what Representative Combat stated, honestly, this bill should not be approved because, one, the former presidents shouldn't. It's going to be a waste of Homeland Security, which I do agree with the independent leader on this one. And two, it just does not seem sense to spend so much time wasting former presidents when we should be protecting our own president. I yield.
Thank you, Representative Tome.
I request the floor.
Well, before I grant you the floor, Representative Richmond requested the floor right after Representative Tome. So, Representative Richmond, you have the floor.
Point of order.
Yes.
You cannot request the floor while one already has the floor.
Representative Richmond did not request the floor while Representative Tome was speaking.
I believe he did, but...
The chair does not remember any such activity. The chair only remembers that Representative Richmond requested the floor immediately after Representative Tome requested the floor. I apologize
Mr.
for
Speaker,
that.
I have a question.
Understood.
I'm sorry?
I have a question, Mr. Speaker?
Of course, Representative Mavis, your question is...
may you please change the status of me from absent to, present?
I believe the representative is putting a motion on the floor to change his status from absent to present on the attendance. Do I have that correct, Representative Vermillion?
Yes, probably.
Does anyone wish to second the representative's motion? Representative Tome seconds the motion. We will now put it... Oh, you know what? We will now mark Representative Vermillion as present on the on the attendance. Would the clerk please go ahead and do that while I grant Representative Richmond the floor as he was so patiently waiting?
Done.
I will be speaking for the representative as he is typing.
Oh boy.
Representative Richmond says, my bill has some new additions. So I request that you read them. Thanks. The representative yields the remainder of his time. Would any representative... oh, yes, I completely forgot. Representative Rivetti, you requested the floor, am I correct?
Yes, I did. I'm just reading the new additions now.
Right.
Alright,
Yes. Well, I'm sorry, Representative Rivetti. I believe Representative Combatant wishes to put forth a point of order. If I am correct. Representative Combatant. The representative nods as to affirm that the chair is correct. There does need to be a motion to amend any bills while in session. So, would Representative Richmond please confirm that he did not indeed add new additions or amend the bill in any way while during the session? Representative Combatant puts a motion on the floor to table this bill so the draftee can do his amendments and present it to next session. Does anyone second this motion?
I second.
Okay, with a second, we will table this bill and present it in the next session.
Should we do a vote or something on the motion? Or, you know.
Good idea. Yeah.
Alright, so the motion, as Doherty said, is on tabling the bill until next session, or, obviously the alternative is Richmond can do his motion to amend. So, McTavish, what is your vote on tabling this bill until the next session?
Aye.
Representative Mike. Representative Combatant. Representative Gatsby.
Aye.
Representative Rivetti.
Aye.
Representative Richmond. Representative Rockefeller. Representative Tome.
Aye.
Representative Vermillion.
Aye.
And Representative Rockwell.
Abstain.
Alright, that obviously passes, so the, yeah, this will be moved to the next session.
Okay. HR 15. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Question for the clerk. Is there a link to HR 1506? Because I can't seem to click on it.
1506?
Yeah.
No, there is not.
There's not a link. Let me find it. Hold on.
Yep. We will fix that right away. Sorry about that.
Closure. Alright, so is the name of this bill Closure of Immigration Before an Election, or is it Citizenship Revocation Act? Oh, I'm looking at a different one. Citizenship Revocation. Oh, this is Combatant's bill. Yeah, there it is. I see it. I was looking at something else. Okay, there should be a link.
Okay. Yep, there is now a link. Okay. Well, before we even get to that, we have to discuss HR 1505, Closure of Immigration Before an Election Act. Does any representative wish to... Okay, Representative Richmond would like the floor, and Representative Richmond is granted the floor. I will be speaking for the representative. Representative Richmond says, this bill is to protect our democracy from filthy alts.
Good.
It isn't fair to any candidate to lose to alts. So 10 days prior to any election, we will close immigration to help manage the alt problem. The representative yields the remainder of his time. Representative Tome is granted the floor. I believe Representative Tome will be typing for this one. Would the representative like to yield the remainder of his time to Representative Combatant?
No, I'll speak now.
Very well, and Representative Tome has the floor.
Honestly, the immigration should be... I kind of agree with Representative Richmond's motion saying, but there should be another statement into his, that though they're alt, immigration should be canceled within 5 days, but the non-alts should be able to vote within period. I yield.
I believe the representative just put forth a suggestion to amend the following bill. Am I correct?
I am correct.
Okay. Representative Tome has now put a motion on the floor to amend the following bill. Do I hear a second to the motion? Representative Mike has put forth a second to the motion. We will now hear Representative Tome elaborate on what exactly the amendment will be, and then we will put it to a vote.
Do I have the floor?
You have the floor.
So, what I'm talking about is that the immigration should be canceled within 5 days, but only on alts. The citizens that are like foreign representatives should be able to get into should be access the right to citizenship and have the access to vote. I yield.
I request the floor.
Representative Ravetti now has the floor.
Tom, how will we know who is an alt? I yield the
Okay. Would Representative Tome like to respond to that question?
Yes.
Representative Tome has the floor.
Well, first of all, there would be a heavily security process in which the Homeland Security would have to figure out their accounts. If they approved through a standard procedure, they would be approved to be accessed to vote. I yield.
Okay. Okay, good. Representative Mike puts forth a motion to table this bill to allow Mr. Richmond to make improvements. Do I hear a second to this motion? Representative Tome has put forth a second to the motion. We will now move to a vote as to whether or not we should table this bill until the next session. Would the clerk please call the roll?
We could do this. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
And this is tabled.
Good.
I believe that Richmond wants to retract the bill in total, not just take.
Well, it's too late for that.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a bit too late for that. We've already passed a motion to table the bill.
Rip.
The chair would like clarification on whether or not Representative Richmond has in fact left the call and by doing so left the session. Would the clerk please provide clarification on that?
Whoa, hold on. What am I? I'm sorry. What am I doing again? I just like zoned out.
I just want, it's okay. I just want to know if Representative Richmond has left the call and by doing so left the session.
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay.
We can
The
mark
chair
him as
would like
partial.
to.
Yeah, I think we should mark him as partial.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor to recognize Representative Richmond as absent. Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Oh, there
Oh, well, as the chair has noticed that Representative Richmond joined the call right before that second, the motion is now null and has been retracted by Representative Mike. I would also like to give myself about 30 seconds to get back to my chair in DC as I have disconnected. Sorry about that. Okay. We are back. Alright, where were we? Does any representative wish to speak at this time before we move on to the next item on the agenda?
Just to clarify, item 6 and 7 were both tabled?
Yes.
Alright, just making sure.
Two representatives are typing at the moment. Once they are done.
We're doing well.
Okay, good. As I hear no requests for the floor, we will now move on to the, I believe this is the final agenda,
You would be correct.
yes, the final, I can't English, the final thing on the agenda, which is H.R. 1506, also known as the Citizenship Revocation Act of 2017, drafted by Representative Combat. Okay. Representative Mike has put a motion to proceed to a vote. Do I hear a second to this?
I second.
Representative Ravetti has put forth a second to this motion. We will now proceed to a vote. Would this clerk of the House please call?
I sure will.
Thank
Representative Combatant. Votes we. Representative Gatsby.
Yay.
Representative Rockefeller. Representative Rockefeller? Abstain. Alright. Representative Rockwell.
Aye.
Representative Richmond. Votes nay. Representative Ravetti. That was half of an aye, but I'll take it. Representative Vermillion.
Nay.
Alright, Representative Joseph Jr. says aye. A.I. Terrance. Representative Representative Lockheed did not give a
Aye.
vote on this. Well,
Hold on, I believe he did.
Yeah.
do we want to mark him as... What are we marking him as, then?
They marked me as present when I entered the call.
Oh, you did?
Oh.
Yeah. Remember they did the vote and whatnot?
Yes.
So do we...
But where was Representative... Okay.
Do I
So were you just staying quiet?
Yeah, because I proxied on all those other
Right.
bills.
So
Okay, well,
So, we put him as president?
yes.
Okay. So what is your vote on this?
Aye.
Representative McTavish.
Aye.
Representative Filkov.
Aye.
Interesting. With 8 in favor, 2 opposed, and 1 abstain, this passes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. As all legislative items on the agenda are now complete, I will move this chamber to closing statements. Would any representative like to... Okay, Representative Combatant requests the floor and has been granted the floor. I will be speaking for the representative. Representative Combatant says, I'd like for the chair and clerk to recognize me as a member of the Unity Party caucus, and he yields the floor. The chair poses a question to the clerk. What is the Unity Party caucus?
That's a good question.
The chair now directs his question to Representative Combatant, as he is unfamiliar with this specific caucus.
Whatever floats your boat, man.
Good. Representative Rockefeller puts forth a good point. His point, well, he poses a question. Doesn't a caucus usually mean several congressmen are caucusing?
Actually, since the House of Representatives is elected on a basis of voting for party and voting for independent candidacies, your party would have to stand in the next House election for you to be recognized as a Unity Party candidate. Right now, you are considered an independent candidacy or independent representative until the end of this term. If you would like your party to stand in the next election, then you'll have to sign up. Yes, I am removing your freedom to organize.
Right. Representative Richmond has the floor. Representative Richmond says, yes, hello, you all tabled my bills. Terrible choice.
Slanted face.
Yeah, slanted face, and he yields the remainder of his time. Oh, well, okay. Representative McTavish now has the floor.
Okay. I'd like to say that... Oh, wait. Am I good?
Yes.
Okay. A good session. I just hope that we maintain civility for the next one, because there was a number of incidents where we broke off of that sort of formality that comes with being representatives, and I hope that we can maintain that for the next session. But otherwise, yeah. I yield the floor.
But
Thank you,
also, to kind of respond to how someone said that a party is not equal to a caucus. A caucus is when you identify with a certain party, in a sense, to get on committees and stuff like that, but you're not actually a member of that party. So, since the only parties we recognize are the Democrats and Republicans, Combat would only be able to either caucus with the Democrats or Republicans. So I just want to kind of clear that up.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. And the chair would like to say that he joins Representative McTavish in his call for keeping our sessions civil.
I request the floor.
Representative Ravetti now has the floor.
I also agree with Representative McTavish to keep our debates civil, but then again, I would just like to remind us these are debates, and this is what happens when people don't agree with everything. I would like to say that we have had a swift and successful session today, and I hope to see more in the future. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Representative Ravetti. Representative Rockefeller. Representative Rockefeller, you have the floor. I will be speaking for the representative as he is typing. The representative says, caucusing in the U.S. House of Representatives is different than in USA as stated by Terrence. We only recognize two parties. Therefore, we only have two caucuses. Minus that one independent.
I'm curious how Gassy brought up the Congressional Black Caucus, then he states he's caucusing with the party. Who cares about that?
Votes alone, therefore not a caucus.
Rip.
The representative yields the remainder of his time.
Good.
Would any other representative like to request the floor?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay, the motion.
I retract that motion as Tone was
Okay.
to the floor.
Representative Tone now have the floor. Will the representative be speaking, or is he going to be typing?
Guess he'll be typing.
He's currently typing.
Yeah, I'll take that as typing. I will be speaking for the representative says, I hope and pray that we will keep the stability between both parties and that independent party. We should remember that we represent the people. Representative yields. The chair would just like to remind all representatives that if you have something to say, any point or question that you would like to make on anything that is being discussed in the House, I implore you to please request the floor so that all may hear your opinion. I do not wish for these sessions to be behind closed doors. There's a reason why we live stream these things, and that's so that the American people can hear us in action, and we can prove to them that we are truly doing our jobs and not just sitting here and, twiddling our thumbs, so to say. The chair now recognizes Representative Combatant. Representative Combatant says, I look forward to seeing who President Russo will nominate to fill corrupt Dave's now vacant office! Exclamation mark. The representative yields. Representative Rockefeller, you now have the floor. I will be speaking for the representative.
Yeah, just to let you know, I really don't care if you caucus with an avocado, but it's not going to be recognized by the House unless there's some kind of bill presented. But, just to let you know.
Representative Rockefeller says, I'd like to remind the independent representative that personal attacks on individuals are out of order. He yields the remainder of his time. Representative Richmond, you now have the floor. I will be speaking for the representative. Okay, so the representative says, all right, so. Are these closing statements? No, that was a question. Okay. What? Okay. The representative says, hi, great term we have here. Don't table my bills hard. The representative yields the remainder of his time. Representative Combatant has put a motion to adjourn, and it has
I second.
Yes, well, it's gotten like 9th at this point. And with that, the first session of the 15th House of Representatives has now come to an end. I'd like to thank all representatives for joining us tonight. And we will see you all next week.
Don't you have to